We are a podcast for product marketers and B2B SaaS who feel misunderstood of what they do.
From someone who truly gets what you do and
basically help you feel less like a misfit, being unignorable in your role.
Welcome everyone to another episode of We're Not Marketers. This is Zach, the Sales Water Lab. Before we introduce our esteemed guest on the mic, we gotta pass it around to our co-host, kicking it off with Eric.
Yo, Eric Holland, your Franken manager, used to be Franken marketer, and now to everyone's favorite mustache man, Gab. Give him an intro.
Yo, Gab Bugeaud, sales deck associate. I just do sales deck till I die. It feels redundant, like my sales deck, but hopefully this podcast is not. I'll pass it up back to you, Zach.
All right, y'all. We gotta let you know who we got on the mic right now. This individual has audited over 400 websites, and not just any particular section. We're talking about paid ads landing pages, the kryptonite for every product marketer in the game right now. She's been on the list for Exit 5 B2B marketing list. She was recently on the list for salesintel.io. Is she a seller? Is she a marketer? Oh, but what we know for sure, she's a certified boss. We're happy to introduce the growth marketing advisor and founder of Scroll Lab, Tas Bober. Tas, what is going on?
What an intro. The only thing we were missing was some freaking Glorilla in the background, just like my walk-up song.
Do it in post.
We might run into some licensing issues, but other than that, I'm sure she wouldn't mind. She knows I'm her biggest fan. But thank you so much for that. It is funny because the reason that I even started with the paid ads landing page is because a PMM was like, hey, I get asked about this all the time, and this is just not what we do, but your background is perfect for it. Do you just want to do it? That's literally how it started. And that's why I kept bullying my way onto your podcast, is because I think that there's so much, like 80% of what I do is rooted in product marketing, which is insane for a growth marketer / demand gen marketer to even say.
Oof. So with this next question, Taz, with that context in mind, you know the show. We're gonna pass it off to Gab. You already know what the question is. Gab, take it away.
I feel like one of those days I'll need to change it up because everyone knows about it, but Tas, are product marketers actually marketers? Why or why not?
I thought long and hard about whether I would have a hot contrarian take on this, mainly to just annoy you guys and just go the opposite way. Although no one can roast you harder than April Dunford when she had the giggle pause and she went, and the face of what the fuck am I doing here? No one will ever beat that.
It was a good one, yeah.
I'll say, I don't know. So product marketers just feel like they're everything to everybody. Like I could not move forward without the sign off. But then it's every time I talk to my product marketer, who we referred to as the mad scientist at my last company, and this poor dude, even his hair was wild, like a wild scientist. But every day I talked to him, he was talking to a different function of the company. So he was like, oh yeah, I'm working with RevOps today. And I'm like, RevOps? What do you do? Are you lost? What's happening? And then he was working with sales enablement. And then he was like, oh yeah, I had to talk to the product team about this. And then he came in and then he's on my side helping me with the campaign landing pages and like another product launch. So I'll just say this, product marketers are not marketers. They're CEOs, baby. They're running the show. And also on LinkedIn, as we know, some of them are very good at harassing other people. Anthony Pieri.
The master instigator.
The master instigator of video.
Our frenemy of the podcast.
And so cool that we gotta know. We are not marketers, guys. I don't know when was the last time we got one of those.
Am I like one of the few people that actually said you are not marketers?
Yeah.
You're the first one in 2025.
In a while. I can't remember when my heart's been this full in many episodes. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not planning to walk in here and agree with you guys, but then as I thought about my interaction with the best product marketer I worked with in-house, and I'm like, poor Matt. I'm going to send him this episode. I'm going to be like, poor Matt. He was just like, and when we used to have our one-on-one conversations in Slack, like the things we would talk about weren't always like marketing related. He was always talking about just the larger bureaucratic problem in the company. And our joke was always like Matt for CEO, Matt with the crazy hair, Matt for freaking president, because he just knew it. But like and also just, we couldn't live without him. The department, like none of the departments could function without that link. So I think they're far more than a marketer. It might be downplaying the role at the company. So yes, marketer, but so much more.
You hear that, Matt? Accept your
So much more.
roses. If you hear this episode, come up to the stage and accept your roses.
Oh, Matt, I miss him. Okay, cool.
Gosh. So earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that product marketers hate paid ads, but like hate's maybe an understatement. And there is a reality where some of us get thrown into it. Closest proxy being maybe like a demo landing page. When you've worked on either in-house or engagement tasks, like what were the biggest red flags you've seen committed on a paid like ad landing page where you're like, whoa, like this is a problem?
They were all problems that I created for myself also in-house. And that was one of the few things that maybe I didn't involve Matt in as much as I should have. Maybe if it was a product launch kind of landing page, yes, obviously he was heavily involved. He wrote out the copy, all of those things. But then a couple of days ago, I shared an example of what a standard landing page looks like. And you can close your eyes and picture it, right? It's every unbounced template, every landing page template example. It's like form upright, right? Some bullshit text, some irrelevant imagery. We'll just list out 3 or 4 features of the product, some stupid logos, but then literally, I want your name, your mother's name, your freaking cousin's name. And if you don't sign up for this product demo, I'm coming to your house. And that's like most landing pages. And I think the thing is, we think it's a silo, like away from the product. Oh, we're conversions focused, so we don't need to educate on the product. We just assume anyone coming to that page is ready to like convert and talk to us about the product while showcasing the product not at all. And so I actually only realized that once I stepped out. And when I started working with different companies, I'm like, shit, I don't have a mat. I don't have a way or somebody where I can just be lazy and not understand what this product is. Because Matt knew everything. He had the knowledge. I didn't feel like I needed the knowledge. I'm like, I'll bring the digital website, cute stuff. You inject the actual substance. But then when I came out, I'm like, I can't create good landing pages without a mat. How do I become a mat? And I remember talking to my VP internally, and I was like, out of all of the functions of marketing, probably product marketing is my weakest. And I realized how sad that is, because that is literally the foundation of everything. It's, hey, yeah, my house is built with sticks, but I have super cute curtains. Like they're so cute. I can decorate the shit out of this house. It's like freaking standing on stilts. And so when I came out, I created this process where I was like, not the buyer's journey, none of it. How do I get up to speed on these companies' products very quickly and basically give myself a crash course in product marketing, but over and over again for every company? And that's when Anthony actually helped me with the positioning and messaging around the Scroll Lab, which is not the buyer's journey, but coming up with the buyer's business case. What is the information they need to collect in order to like put you in the consideration set, the champion's business case? So that's what I build out for companies today. The first phase, I always tell people, listen, this was a little bit of a bait and switch. I know you came here for paid ads, landing pages, but 80% of what we're going to do has nothing to do with landing pages. They're like, whoa. And then I build this out, and it's all of those things. We look at the market, I marry it with some keyword research, right? Then we look at the alternatives in the market. What is the status quo? What are their options? What are the competing solutions? Where's the actual overlap? What are the actual differentiators based on that? Then I have Fletch's value proposition canvas version 38 or whatever. They're on like 1001 embedded in there. So They obviously let me borrow it. So I have that's branded. It's got their little Fletch logo on it. We go through each one of the features, all their use cases, capabilities. We extract these like problem and solution themes, credibility and proof. What is internal that you have? What is a buyer going to go out and source externally from G2, Capterra, Reddit, agnostic sources? Finally, any FAQs, so the objections that come up in the sales calls, and then the ask and pricing if they're open with it, only half are. But the ask, which is, okay, I want you to sign up for a meeting. This is what you can expect to happen, like 2 or 3 steps ahead into the meeting. And all of that information, make sure that there's quality output on the landing pages, but it's essentially giving them all the information they need in order to create this business case and then eventually reach out to you and not have it be 31 touch points like hockey stack stakes. Hopefully not 31 touch points, but
Wow,
That's
that's
a. I'm stealing. I'm stealing this.
you can. You can. I mean,
So,
it like
we're growing up into video editing soon, but
yeah.
problem is I've just got a face meant for radio, so I've been fine with audio only.
But see, here the thing is, first of all, no, your face is plenty for video. Have you seen?
Look at her.
Listen, have you seen
Words of
some people who
affirmation.
appear on video? Some people should be hiding, but they're not. Okay, and
All
if
about the
if this
confidence.
was on video, your audience would be able to see this champion's business case that I would be able to share with them because I share
Looks,
everything, and so that would have been something that would have been interesting.
looks like we're gonna have to do a special.
We're gonna have to run it back. We're gonna have to run it back. We're
I
gonna
thought
have
you
to
guys
run it back.
were. I thought you guys were looking for a fourth host. No, was that
Well,
just one?
we have pickup truck, but I would not consider him or her
Her.
a fourth host.
They.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
I have a quick question. You said that when you start talking with prospects or with clients, at first you're like, hey, by the way, it's not always going to be. It's not necessarily paid ads, right? We want to get the foundation right. Since we kind of tackled that, PMMs paid ads is like the monster they don't want anything to do about. What's your assumption? Why do you think that we don't like it so much? Because if you get the foundation right, then the rest should be easier, right?
Hmm. Why do you think? Why do I think that PMMs don't like it as much?
Yeah. Or that they struggle with it. If a PMM gets the foundation right, the path to nailing paid ads should technically be easier, I feel like, right?
Maybe they assume that it's more technical than it needs to be. And so if PMMs are more like the philosophical ideologists, like they know the substance and the literature, and then it comes into implementing these like experiences and oh, we got to set up all these things in the platform. Oh, we got to put these pages together. I think it was different with Matt because he actually had a digital background and then moved into product marketing later. But any product marketer outside of that would be like, okay, I created the messaging docs, I created the ICP stuff. Oh, look, here's everything that you need, like peace. And it may not be that they're afraid of it, and more that they're just so chocked full of stuff to do that they're just like, okay, someone doesn't want something from me for once. That's fine. I don't want anything to do with that either. I'm sure if I'd asked Matt, he would 100% be the kind that's so passionate about the product, he wanted to be involved. But also, he was doing 600 things and working like he has 100-hour weeks or something, just like more hours than there are in the week. And I don't know if it's something that they're scared about, but like when Anthony told me, listen, this is just not something that we do. I think it's because he has such a like niche focus. So because he was like home pages, that's all we do. We're not going to take even like product marketing, advising or consulting clients. I think his was less about I'm scared or this is just not my thing versus him just staying extremely focused with what they do because they could follow I follow a lot of those principles and then the conversion rate optimization, which I hate, but the testing and like the analysis of data and things like that, um that's 20% of it. But product marketing just gives you the first best hypothesis that you're starting out with versus you're starting out with a 0 because you have this stupid landing page and you have to keep optimizing your way to something better. That's a longer journey than if you started with a page that was a 7 out of 10 and then you had to get a 10 versus a 0 and now you're like trying to get to even a decent version. So my perspective now is, if you are building campaign landing pages, involve your product marketing team, because that's what I do now with all my clients. We go through the champion's business case, I build it out, and every demand gen marketer, I think we're actually more scared of PMMs than the other way around, where I'll be like, hey, here's the champion's business case. And the first few were like, we got to run this by our MAT, our PMMs. And so now I'm just like, hey, most of my clients just involve the product marketers just as a gut check. And then they just feel better that the product marketers are just signed off on the business case. And then they're like, I don't even need to really see the landing pages because I know it's going to be rooted in this information. And then the demand gen and growth marketers feel like they're putting good information out there. So it is bringing a little bit of those teams together and incorporating that. And we're seeing like super great results from doing it that way. And it's defying a lot of the laws of CRO as we know it in B2B. So yeah, I'm excited to like change that status quo. And I said it on another podcast, but I'm like, if I ever went back in-house, my whole career has been digital website growth. I would go back and take a product marketing role just to round myself out. 100%.
You would probably kill it, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. This is so sweet. I love this.
All of our listeners would be out of jobs.
Oh, you don't.
Also got an interview, and she's gonna get the job.
Like, all right, back to the drawing board.
I'll like serenade the hiring manager. I'll try to beat that. I'll make my own custom song about their product. You got to stand out in this market, okay?
The
Just
Cardi
saying.
B beat,
The Cardi
that'd be
B.
fire. Like that goes in your intro email. Like, hey, we're meeting tomorrow. Make sure you listen to this, and we'll talk about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good. I need to do it for LinkedIn, but I'm just like randomly, it's like the weirdest things that'll be like, oh, I'm shy. Just like those things. I'm not shy any other time. So I just sent, right before we jumped on this call, I sent Zach an audio note of me just Creed for a minute and a half. Yeah, I was listening to Creed and I was like, I'm psyching myself up. And I was like, hold me now. Yeah. And so I've been like a pathetic Creed kick for the last couple of weeks. No shame. So anyway.
No shame in Creed.
Yeah, our text exchange to be wild. Like the latest one I sent to Tas was about Drake suing his label for defamation of monopolies.
We did compare it to people who were making a stink about not being featured on like the Exit 5 list and then suing Exit 5 for defamation. that was a good parallel because there were some people who were like salty about that.
People were heated. I can imagine if we had a list that had not marketers list and we put PMs on there, they'd probably be pissed off. They'd be like,
oh yeah, you'd piss off people on the list. They'd be like, oh my God, don't call me not a marketer. I'm not.
That's a very good idea, though. We should definitely do that. We should create a list of people, hey, they are not marketers, just to piss them off.
These are our top not marketers.
Oh God, they're gonna be
These
like,
are the people who are really showing us that they don't know how to be a marketer.
oh my gosh, I'm gonna be like, I can't tell if this is a compliment or this list is an insult or like what's happening here.
I actually really like this idea.
Wait.
I got a question plus a humble admission.
Ooh, let's go.
I suck at finding CTAs. So help me get better at that process and hopefully get a little bit less afraid when I have to start building out the CTAs.
Okay, I'm gonna make you an expert in a minute.
Lay it on me.
So I think that number one, we overthink the CTA stuff, right? It's all the stuff that's around the CTA. And secondly, we make the CTA, that's our goal, because that's us thinking about us as a company. And we want them to interact with that. And it doesn't matter how you say it. You could be like skibbity, like schedule a demo or whatever. I don't even know what that means. I've just seen it a few times. Hopefully I didn't say anything cancelable anyway. I'm like old millennial, so I don't know all these things. And you could be cute, you could be funny, you could be whatever. At the end of the day, I always tell people, just make the ask very directly, right? So if you were asking a girl for her phone number and you try to be funny like Zach, I'm sure would come up with some wild, wacky way to do it. He'd just be like, he'd try to do a song and like in the song embedded, there's going to be like, and if
no, this is how Zach does it.
You know?
This is how Zach did it. He's like, hey, I just landed in Mexico from the United States. I lost my phone number. Can I get yours? He's been using that all week.
And then he finished it with "I'm not a marketer, by the way."
Oh, yeah. Oh, what do you do for a living? I can't tell you that, but what I can tell you is I'm not a marketer. She's gonna be like, "What is happening right now?" Don't do that. You don't wanna be like, "Don't schedule a demo, wink," right? This definitely not signing up for a demo. That's not the way to do it. Like, most of my landing pages, almost all of them, I ask my clients, I'm like, "What is the ask that you're making of them? Is it a free trial? Is it a demo?" And if they say, "Oh, we want them to sign up for a demo," I'm like, "Cool." Literally, it says, schedule a demo, but right beside it are the steps that happen right after they decide to fill out that form. So it says schedule a demo. Cool. Most people, the reason why you're like freaking out about, oh, am I saying the right thing in the CTA is because we don't give enough information around it. So the CTA is usually in the bottom and it's see what Asana can do for you. Schedule a demo. That's something dumb like that. But if you just had whatever, Asana project management for enterprise teams, what's going to happen when you fill out the form? One, a member on our team is going to reach out to you within 24 hours. Then, based on your specific use cases that we'll talk about in a quick 30-minute call, we will then schedule a meeting with our solutions engineer who will walk you through a custom demo so we don't waste your time. And that's going to be 30 minutes. That's it. The end. 2 to 3 steps ahead. You're telling them you respect their time, you respect their information. It matters far less than the CTA, than the information and laying the expectation. And I always tell people at the end of the day, it's this: treat them like adults. Do not hide information. Do not try to be shy, right? I always say, what if you saw an ad for pants and then you click the ad for pants and then you're taken to the homepage and then you have to go find the pants somewhere deep, dark inside. Like, you're wasting someone's time, right? So they're wasting calories trying to figure out where the hell to find this versus whether they're making you part of the consideration set or not. And that's a goal. So I always tell people, don't worry about the CTA. Don't make the ask too soon, right? Give them the information, 90% value, 10% ask. Make the ask at the right time. And be direct. Hey, I like you. Can I have your number?
These are all good tips that I'm jotting down right now, not only for B2B podcasting, product marketing, but for life advice too. So Tas, I appreciate you. I also got to call out too that your explanation was the antithesis of Bed Bath & Beyond's entire business model. Because
Aren't they out
heaven
of
forbid,
business? Did they?
No.
Oh, who?
No.
Out of business. Okay,
Just
never
kidding.
mind.
Yeah, they're definitely not doing well.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're not
this,
doing well.
Bath and Body Works, though, they're doing
Bath & Body Works, they're killing the game,
always
but
right.
I think the customer is still lost in Bed Bath & Beyond, so that's what's keeping them like afloat. Is that if you can't leave, you might as well buy, right?
Well, that, and also, isn't Bed Bath and Beyond just like the brick and mortar of Temu? Now what Temu is like, it's all the like jankiest, weirdest shit in the world. It's like
Yes.
all in the store, and you're like, I didn't realize I needed an elbow massager, but I guess I'll try it. And it's just like the weirdest stuff.
Came here for curtains,
Yeah, not surprising.
not a massager.
Well,
So,
beyond part.
so kind of, so everything from like putting the pricing to some of those other steps where you said treat them like adults. What are some of the ways you're getting clients to actually like listen to that and say, you know what, we should treat them like adults?
I don't win the pricing battle.
50% of the time.
50% of the time I win it.
I'm at like 10%. So
I say 50% and it sounds great, but that's because they're already showing pricing, not because I convinced them to, if that helps. Okay. That's the honest truth. But there've been a couple of clients where I'm like, look, they're 30, 40, $50,000 products and they're like, we don't want to scare people away. I'm like, but what if they can't afford you? Oh, we turn them away. I'm like, okay. Do you see the issue here is that if you wanted 1,000 leads, that was your goal, is to get 1,000 leads, we'll go buy them tomorrow for 17 cents a pop. They'll be in your ICP, right? They'll have no idea who the hell you are. You can get that. You can get names in your CRM anytime. But the thing is, if you want a landing page or your website to work for you and you want to look for density of ICP, then you're going to have to Be open about these things, because what ends up happening is they start looking for that answer somewhere else. Edit, probably the worst place to look for it. I shared an example like a couple weeks ago, and I was doing research, like competitive research for a client. They're in the security space, and that same exact query, there was like their ICP was on Reddit and it said, "Hey, does anybody know how much X type of company costs? And I just don't know if my budget is too small or big for them. I don't want to deal with the sales process." Like literally right there. And it was so funny because there were like 7 or 8 answers and they were all wild, like wildly different pricing. This is something that Anthony also talks about sometimes, where it's like when you hide pricing, it's basically like how much can I squeeze from you as a company versus you just having this rate. And the same company has given these 7 people totally different price ranges. Guess what? The one who's paid $30,000-$40,000 more is, what the fuck? Like, you charge this guy 30 grand and I paid 70, right? That's going to cause a problem. 2, it could be wildly inaccurate. This guy, the 30,000 guy, could have had a pricing from 5 years ago, could be misremembering, could have moved on. So I always tell companies, I'm like, do you want to control the narrative or you want someone else to? Because they'll go ask a friend. And that's just what's happening in public, right? The minute a company hides from me, I can't even tell you, like, when I was in house and I was looking at drift replacements, right? Because renewal time had come and qualified was like all up in my business. And all of these companies were reaching out to me. And I obviously know a lot of other heads of digital and websites because I hang out with my peers. And immediately I texted him and I was like, "Hey, have you used Qualified before? How much are you paying?" And he's, "Oh, it's 60 grand or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, shit." It may not have been 60 grand for me. I don't know. But now I'm like, "Oh, screw it. I'm not talking to them. I don't have that kind of money. Why would I even waste my time?" So that's why I tell them, I'm like, would you rather control the narrative or would you rather somebody else? And if you can't put, "Oh, it's based on usage and it's based on whether they get the support and whether they get this, it's too complicated." I'm like, cool. What is the bottom line that you would accept a customer? Would you not accept anyone under 30 grand? Cool. Put starting at 30 grand. That's it. And you will disqualify all the people that you're complaining about from a lead quality perspective. They all magically disappear, magically, with one word on your freaking page. I do have one enterprise client who did that. They said starting at 30 grand. They were fine.
The quote you said is so powerful. Like, do you want to control the narrative, or do you want like people to be like tweaking it and seeing stuff that isn't necessarily true? And with like AI and everything, like it's very very easy for a buyer to know almost more of the market context than a seller. So yeah, it's love that. I think if like people are listening and have been having that pricing debacle, ultimately it can help them, fix those problems and those big silos between marketing and sales that PMMs are always trying to deal with.
For the other part, Eric, that you had mentioned in terms of outside of pricing, do they listen to the other stuff that I have to tell them? Because it is not a very conventional way to do campaign landing pages. But I'll say this, which is right now I'm not doing any like outbound or outreach and stuff like that. So I'm not dealing with the having to convince people a lot about my POV. But I will say that when I talk to companies, I've talked to 50 now in the last year, and they obviously have come to me because whatever they're doing is not working. And so they're like, I could spend another 20 grand running ads to God knows what and continue for it to not work. Or I can attempt to try something different on the chance that perhaps there's something here. And even with that, I don't offer like conversion guarantees and like lead volume guarantees and all of this other shit. Cause I'm like, guess what? B2B buyers don't fucking buy like that. They just don't. Hockey Stack said average 31 touch points for $5,000 ACV product. 31. You think people are going to do on like direct on page landing page conversions? Hell no. Hell no. Like I told Zach, I don't even buy pants on the first visit. You know how much Old Navy has to hound me to get my money for pants from cold dead hands? You think I'm going to spend $100,000 and convert within the first visit to a landing page? It doesn't make sense.
I know. I've walked by the same 75-inch 4K TV at Sam's Club for like 19 weeks in a row, sometimes
Retargeting.
multiple times a week.
They're like, keep
And it's
it
still
close.
not on my wall yet, but it's getting closer.
You're like watching all those reels that are like, if Sam's Club's price ends with a 9, it's gonna go away soon. You better get it. That kind of stuff. They're like retargeting you with freaking ads. That's hilarious. But yeah, that's the same thing. Like, just because you have the money doesn't mean you want to go spend it and then have to change your behavior incorporating this product. No one wants to take that risk. No one wants to go through the hassle of convincing their boss. They're still in the middle of trying to convince her to give you a raise. And you're like, oh, and by the way, do you want to spend 100K on qualified? She'll be like, get the hell out of here. What are you doing? Why are you even talking to people right now? Yeah.
It's funny because what you've been describing here so far is that it's going against this old convention in B2B of, hey, if we make prospects really work, like when we say work, like figuring out what we do, finding our pricing, see if it's right, then they are more likely to be bought in on what we do and likely to buy.
Yeah, I keep comparing it to dating, but like bad dating experiences, saying that's, oh, treat a girl like dirt and she'll stick to you like mud. I feel like some B2B executives, like, yes, that's our marketing strategy. We're going to treat them like crap. Okay. We're going to hide shit from them. Okay. And then they'll want more and more because we're mysterious and brooding. We're going to play games because we're going to put all this flowery language and shit on our landing pages and our website, right? We're going to be like, disrupt your technology, baby. What's up? And she's going to be like, what? Do you even have a job? What do you do? I don't know anything about you. And so it's like a terrible experience. And then sometimes they just think that's enough, right? Oh, we're a big dog company. Wink, wink, give me your number. And you're like, no, you still got some convincing to do. I'm not going to just go out on a date with you or get in your car. No, thanks.
Check out all these notches on my belt.
Yeah, I got oats to sell. You don't want me? That's cool.
Check out all these names. Check out all these logos I got.
Yeah, check this out. Yeah, I got a long list. Check out my ex-girlfriends, all models. That's fine.
Are you looking to disqualify people as much as you are trying to qualify, new
Hell yeah.
leads?
Hell yeah.
I love
I put a post out that said a good landing page will decrease conversions. It has to. Because everyone comes to me, they're like, our conversion rates aren't great. I'm like, guess what, honey? Working with me isn't going to make it better. Because I'm not promising that shit because it's going to go in the opposite direction and I want it to. You know why? Because I'm not optimizing for that shit. You can get conversions tomorrow. It's fine. But what we're trying to do are the other signals. Are people consuming information about your product? Are you giving them the information that they need? Are your overall meetings going up since the campaign launched because you've given them information without them having to go on a fishing expedition for it? Are your deals closing faster? Maybe it was 90 days, now it's going to 75 days because, again, they have all the information and they just got to do their little running around internally and make this business case up to their higher ups, which, by the way, you've helped them build the business case because it's all on the page. They can literally screenshot and put that into a slide. I actually had a client do that with my stuff. She's like, hey, I have to make this business case for you internally. And she's, can you just review this deck I put together really quick? And I look at it, it's all screenshots of my stuff. I was like, wait, that's my graphic from LinkedIn. Like, why do you have that in there? She's literally screenshotting. So imagine if they just literally screenshotted or just pulled up the landing page, didn't even have to build the slide deck. And they're like, hey, VP, guess what? I found this really cool product. Look at this. Look at these. These are the problems. This is exactly what's going on with us. Here are some of the solutions that they have. Here's some other peers like us. Here's the exact sales process and deployments within 30 days. Okay. All the questions I answered.
I love that example because it reminds me of a new client I'm working with. Is that after much of you beating into my head task of being like, you get specific, lay out your process, I did that same exact thing in my email. She's like, oh, this is great. I just copy and pasted what you written out and I copied it over to the business case justifying this is what he's gonna do. These are the steps, and this is how it aligns to our specific pain points. And I was like, oh, this is what you've been talking about for the last 18 months that I was not doing. So
yeah,
just to say that what you said works.
Yeah, I even tell my clients, and I have to drink my own champagne. So I'm like, look, I'm not going to walk you through a 68-page slide deck. I'm going to show you the work. I'm going to walk you through the process. This is exactly what we're going to do. Right after this call, I will send you all the follow-up materials laid out. Here are the deliverables. Here's the process. Here's the timeline. Here's the next steps, right? My type A, like full engage, like full, like on coke, full. I don't do drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. And then help them build the business case. I don't do hard sales follow-ups because I don't need to. They have all the information to make a decision. I may follow up with them like, hey, let me know if you have any questions. You mentioned like this was the week, whatever. There's no hard sells. There's no, if you sign up today, I'll give you a hat with our logo on it. Eric's like, I want that hat.
Sign me up.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like this $100 gift card, just that stuff. Like I don't have to do that. And most of them are like one call closes. So if you give them the information that they need, they will be deciding, is this for me? Is this not for me? Versus what the hell did they do? Before they even get to the part of considering whether you do or do not solve their problem.
I have a follow-up question for you, and this is gonna slightly diverge from our topic, but it's gonna come back in really quick. It's gonna be like a Fast and Furious, like drift around the corner.
Okay, so let's do it.
That's what you're gonna imagine here. I'm curious, when in those one call closes, how much collateral are you using to push them over their fence? I'll give you more context of that question.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, how much collateral are you throwing into these emails, into these clients that they are like, oh, obvious yes?
There's a balance, right? Because if you send them, I used to be the same way internally. I'm like, if this email is longer than 5 sentences and is not formatted in bullets, I'm not reading it. It goes into my unread. It'll be unread for 6 months. What I show them on the call is very simple. I talk to them for 15 minutes about their specific issues to make sure that it's the same issues that all my other clients have. 9 times out of 10, it is. So I get context on their business. Then I pull up a workspace of an existing client that's very close in model to theirs, so they can see themselves in that example. And I like pulling up the existing workspace because 1, it shows them other people have hired me, not some chump off the LinkedIn streets. 2, here's the actual deliverable. You'll get your own thing of this. And then 3, a live example. And that, again, it's not just something that I'm promising them. Here's the actual work in progress. It's 2 or 3 examples. And then after that, the follow-up email is very simple. So I give them my website, which has my pricing, and I tell them that too. My process and pricing is on my website. Here's the link. Here's the link to the recording of our call in case anybody internally wants to walk through that process or you yourself forget, because we all have short-term memory loss. Here's the process we walk through, high level. It's 3 stages. That's it. Here are the deliverables that you get based on your product and segment mix. And next steps, if you want a contract, here's a sample, because I know sometimes those are really long. Tell me that you yay or nay, sign the contract. I'll send you a kickoff email. One of the things they really love is that my whole engagement is typically 90 days and I don't have more than 3 meetings with them.
Okay, so now this is where we're whipping around the corner now.
Yeah,
we're whipping around the corner. Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned, hey, like, it should be lazy. Like the buying process, the sales process should be lazy. Like it should feel like what you just described here in your just in a short time. It's like aligning on the pain points. I'm gonna walk you through my process here. I'm gonna show you what that has looked like for other customers. Here's my pricing. Here's the packages. Here's how much the engagement is gonna take. Done. Mm-hmm. The reason why I say this is because for a lot of us in product marketing, I think when we see sales, we see it that it should be work. Like, I had a literal conversation with someone a few days ago that said, like, I love building collateral for my salespeople because they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, no, they know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. And it's tough because then they build it like, hey, I built this product brief, I built this customer story. Sometimes the story is not relevant to the buyer's problem. Sometimes it's in a different industry. And then they tell the sales team, use all this stuff. So then if I'm a new seller, I get all this content and my marketing or product marketing told me to use this stuff. I'm gonna send an email that is gonna be like 3 scrolls long. It's gonna have 7 different attachments.
Oh my God.
And it's gonna say, here's all this material Share it with your CMO and tell us what you think. And then the one call Camelot doesn't happen because then you follow up and you're like, hey, so did you share that with your CMO? No. How come? I don't know what to share with them. So that's why I really loved your process there too, because I think that's a really good proxy of like how we as product marketers should view the sales marketing relationship. Give sellers what they need to do their job and don't over inundate them with crap.
And I think there's a little bit of the stakeholder pot roast situation happening. So there's a new feature that launches, and everybody inside the company just assumes that this feature is like, oh, it's the end all be all. I have to update it on the product page. Feature. Like Matt and I used to make fun of it, like featuring the new feature block. And it's one teeny tiny feature, but because it took so long to develop and it was such a hullabaloo internally, it becomes this thing. And the customers, I don't give a shit. And maybe one to close might be a little bit like high expectations for a bigger SaaS company. It definitely should not take 8 months. As a buyer, I think that's where most of it comes in is for most of my career, yes, I was a marketer, but I had a budget as head of digital website because I had to keep the website afloat. I had to pay a lot for CMS. I was sometimes in charge of the marketing automation platform. I had like Drift. We were paying 40, 50 grand a year for that. So I had 30% of my budget outlined for tools and I was a buyer. And it's funny because everything that I did as a marketer, I despised when I was on the receiving end as a buyer. Here's this gigantic sales pitch deck that I had to sit through, 68 pages. I would look down when they would share their screen. Gonna just share my screen real quick here. They'd share their screen and I'd look in the corner and I'm like, oh my God, there's 100 pages in the slide deck. This is how I'm going to die. I just know it. Tell my children I love them. This is the end. And then they'd leave 2 minutes for questions. And then they'd send me a big email with a follow up of all the shit that I had to consume on top of that. I'm like, wait, did you not cover this in your 100-page slide deck? Now I have more shit to read. Here's a one pager. Here's something else. Here's some like alternatives in the market and like why we're better. Here's some awards that we paid for but for sure didn't. Here, oh, by the way, here's some press that we ran because we're so cool and got lots of like funding. I don't give a fuck. You want to know and if I took any of that to my VP, which is during our one-on-ones were the time where I was like, hey, here's an update on 3 of the vendors I'm exploring for XYZ. This is the one that I think we should go for. I'm taking all that shit and having to condense it because you didn't. Okay, so you have just assigned me, the buyer, work. That's why it takes 8 months. Because now I'm like, that's a lot of shit. What is the important stuff? And I didn't have AI when I was in house to be like, so I actually had to go through that shit and be like, okay. So I would put together this business requirements champions business case deck internally. I still have it. And I told someone earlier, I'm like, I'm going to share that on LinkedIn, like the actual one I built. And it's 6 slides that I would present to my VP. And the slides were number 1, hey, I'm asking for budget because we have this problem. These are the other ways that we can do it that have like alternative costs and resources and time. But I really recommend going with this tool. It might be a little more expensive, but in the long run, it's going to save us money because of XYZ. This is how we're going to implement it. This is the timeline. This is how much I need. Please. Like my son always goes, please. And my VP says, yay or nay. So you don't need the 200 pages of collateral, and maybe it takes a little bit longer than the 1-2 close, like for me, but you can definitely shorten it. And every new feature doesn't deserve to be used by the salespeople. And maybe it's a symptom when we have to hold the hands of the salespeople so much. Maybe it's a symptom that they just don't know the product well enough. And so they get overwhelmed by all the material and therefore get like analysis paralysis and they use none of the material you give them. Marketing, like how many times we're doing checkbox marketing where it's blog posts a month, one product launch a quarter, and then you just send all of that to the salespeople and they're like, I'm just not going to use any of this. I'm just going to use the old deck that I've been using 15 versions ago, even though PMMs communicated with me that there's an updated version. They just don't want to do it. So you just got to make it easy for whoever it is to consume the information and make it digestible so that they can do their jobs, not assigning them more work. And I think that's why sales enablement material gets so underutilized, is you're assigning them more work.
We let you cook. We stepped out.
Let her cook.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you came in there when your sous chef like apron. You had the legendary like kitchen cookware that you obviously didn't buy from Bed Bath and Beyond. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would like to chime in a little bit with a question for founding PMMs that might be listening. If I'm a founding PMM and I'm getting not excited because I have like a paid landing page project coming on my lap, and I can't work with you because your waitlist is full and I don't have the budget for some reason or whatever, what are common go-to tools that you would suggest them to go to at least get a working version before ultimately working with you?
Yeah, I always tell people like the MVP that you can do is if your product marketer, so your strength are writing some of those like product marketing, the solution pages, even the pitch decks, the sales pitch decks, Gab, that you do, like at minimum, you have that, right? You have those materials. You either have a product page that maybe can have some improvement, or you have a sales pitch deck. Take that sales pitch deck and translate that into a landing page. Put that same information on there. So, what we end up doing is we hide or we gate the product or we gate the process, and we expect that they're just lining up to sign up for this process. But you have to convince them that the process is worth going through. And so, instead of that being an internal process, it needs to be an external one. So, what I would say is if you're strapped for time, you're strapped for resources, take the existing product page, clone it, okay? Give it its own URL that's specific to the paid program. Make some tweaks because I'm sure that the original product page on your website had 300 people's opinions on there. And it's probably something that the product marketer themselves is, I hate this page so much. Okay, clone it. Now you have this little kind of sandbox environment. That's your little playground, testing ground. Nobody's interjecting their opinions, and it's your canvas. You get to swap those out, make it really clear, add those proof points, add in things that you think are valuable from the pitch deck, those things. And that can be your MVP paid page that you can just direct your paid ads to without having to pay someone like me, but at least that gives you a good foundational start. You know that there's information about the product on there. You just have to inject these other pieces.
I love it, and my background is in growth marketing for context, and I strongly related to having a product page that like is basically everyone's opinion from sales to engineering, and you just have a big Frankenstein mess of something that
Terrible.
doesn't say anything.
And then they get wrapped up in like the wrong detail. I remember, oh my gosh, my VP used to obsess over the images on the page, which I would get if the images had anything to do with our product. No, they were stock imagery. I would spend hours collecting stock imagery and putting it in a Word document for her. And then in the evenings, she would sacrifice time with her family to go through this document and tell me whether she liked the picture or not. And the feedback I would get would be things like, hey, please don't pick pictures where they're looking directly i- at the person. I'm like, oh, you don't think that'll convert better if someone's like staring you down? Like, buy our product. And I'm like, we're focusing on the wrong detail. This is not the thing. This is not the thing. So that's where I'm like, the stakeholders sometimes you just nod along, but that's why I like the campaign landing pages because like marketers have a lot more freedom there. And I remember Matt would like, he was like, oh my God, I just want to be able to do it this way and whatever. And I feel like he and I could have really done some good damage had we worked together on that stuff versus just we got to ship shit out. But we could have really utilized some of that in house too.
That reminds me of when two guys decided to take a photo outside of a park and they put a McDonald's logo on the bottom of the photo and they went to a local McDonald's and they
I
replaced
saw
Oh, yeah,
that.
they replaced
yeah,
it.
they replaced it and no one batted an eye.
No.
No one noticed. They were like, this now now imagine your VP being like, this is not on brand McDonald's imagery right here.
Oh
Like,
yeah, there was a specific filter she liked that I had to custom make. And so when she did pick the picture she liked, she's make sure you apply that filter. So then I would put it into Canva or Photoshop or whatever I had the time and apply this like Instagram filter. And if you go to that website, none of the people are looking directly at you.
Taz, I got one more question for you, but before I do that, y'all like anything you guys want to add to that piece right there?
No, but I need like Gartner to do a study on how much time is wasted on stock imagery selections.
This is a
That hit
painful
home
story.
hard.
Like
It's
missing
crazy
cam-
how.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Wow.
that the family would be like, Mom, what you doing? Shh,
Yeah.
I'm looking at photo.
Yeah.
So Taz, earlier in the conversation, you mentioned like ever so briefly, but if I'm a solopreneur, I caught this 50 like companies in the past year you spoke to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I personally spoke with 50 companies in the last year, oh my God, I'd be living. So I'm curious, like, if I'm a PMM who's doing corporate work, I'm listening to this conversation. I'm like, yo, I just listened to this conversation with Taz. She's got a thriving business now in Scroll Lab. She's killing it. She's on the Exit 5 like list. I wasn't on the Exit 5 list, but it's okay. It's cool. Oh,
You sound salty.
Yeah. I'm gonna sue for defamation anyway. Yeah.
I'm gonna sue Dave and the team for defamation. It's cool. It's cool. But while that check comes in, I want to build a solo business like Taz. Taz, while we got you on the line, I'm curious, just from these three different avenues, if I'm someone working in-house, what's one thing I could start doing to get closer to that avenue? What's one thing maybe I should stop doing? And what's one thing I should be continuing to doing while I'm working if that is the eventual avenue I want to go towards?
I accidentally stumbled upon it. I had zero intention to be a business owner. So I actually have a little notebook that I'm like diary of an unintentional business owner and just like putting entries in there of like random shit that I am going through and like solved or like musings and thoughts and stuff like that. So it was totally unintentional because I really thought like I'm in-house marketer. I was director level. I was going to go VP, CMO. Like that was my path. And that had been my laser focus since the beginning of my career. And then randomly just fell into this. And the irony being like in college, they voted me as most likely to be CEO. And I was like, you guys, I'm going to climb the ladder and do that. And it's like ironic because it happened, but not the way that I thought, which was hilarious. Like I'm a baby CEO or whatever. But anyway, my thing was I think every one of us has this like imposter syndrome, right? Oh, first they're like, "Oh my gosh, posting on LinkedIn is going to be so cringe. Like those people are so cringe." But there was something so therapeutic about that because I was a burnt out in-house marketer. I didn't feel like I was valued as much as I should have been. I worked long hours. I gave to my company. I sacrificed a lot of time with my children. And my entire success hinged on one person's opinion. And if that person liked or disliked me, it would have like repercussions in my career. So if my boss didn't like me and she didn't promote me, cool. It doesn't matter how hard I worked, how much everybody loved me, all of the 360 reviews. At the end of the day, that's your advocate. Now, if you shift that thinking and you say, I'm going to build a network of peers where I'm like just posting my knowledge or my experiences, and your company is going to feel threatened. That's like what happened with me. They like didn't like it. No one ever told me that. I know it now, but like the silence was deafening. I knew that they didn't like it. But putting myself out there and building that network of peers and the collective respect and opening the doors of opportunity to me in other avenues where I was like, oh, my wings were so clipped. And now I feel like I'm flying a little bit. And there are people who are supportive and can lift me up and can offer me so much more than just this one person, right? Now I had 50 people who were interested in something and could have given me an opportunity. I didn't close 50 people. So you're making it sound like I'm a freaking millionaire.
It's
I
okay.
talked to,
We'll edit that part out.
yeah,
We'll
that's fine. No, I'm not.
edit.
But I think that's the thing is like in-house, I was like, oh, you're too loud. You're a challenger, blah, blah, blah. Not challenger. You're combative, but my peer was a challenger. And I'm like, that wasn't a good idea that came out of that thing. But it was just like, I never fit the mold, right? Like I'm a mutt, even genetically. Like I'm half Thai, I'm half Indian. I was never accepted in either country. I was just always a foreigner everywhere I went. And then I moved here and I'm very obviously a foreigner. And so it just felt like for the first time, I threw some of my experiences out there, slowly gained the confidence with each post, and realized, you know what? I fucking do have something to offer this world. And I may not be correct all the time, and that's okay. I'm out here learning. Other people are out here learning. And it's okay to be imperfect, and it's okay to be loud, and it's okay to argue, and it's okay to say, I was wrong about XYZ. I would have never gotten this perspective had I not continued to write and then realized, wait a second, this isn't fucking working. Like this CRO thing is not working. So if you're in house right now and everybody's at risk, it is like you are more at risk in an in house position than you are as a solo consultant at this stage of the economy and this stage of tech. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're an in house marketer, just start sharing your experiences. If it's something where you don't feel comfortable doing it publicly on LinkedIn, that's fine. Start just like commenting on posts. So, like consuming a lot of information by people that you admire and respect in there. Start having conversations. Because I've met a lot of people who are more background people and they like that. But I've built relationships through that. And actually, 3 people that I work with right now through my business, 3 copywriters, I don't think any of them post. I just know them because they're in the Exit 5 community, they're in the DMs, they came through referrals, things like that. Your network is your net worth, and that doesn't mean you have to post. You just got to build it, and you just got to get people to know you however you feel comfortable doing that. And so the 3 people right now who have their own copywriting businesses, but I'm a regular client now, like they're doing okay. And so maybe you just hitch a ride on someone else's rocket ship. Like there are other ways to do it. But I'm going to tell you right now, there is nobody who's going to open up and give you options other than yourself. No one. That's just, no one's going to look out for you. It doesn't matter how close you are with your peers, how close you are with your boss, how much of a family, how long you've worked there. At the end of the day, you are a number. Every business is moving towards efficiency right now. There's a statistic that companies are planning to get rid of 25% of their staff next year and replace them with some kind of AI, something or the other. So you need to back up your backup, which was the advice my first boss ever gave me. And it was the best advice in my entire career up until today. So, and end rant. How many rants did I go on here?
We'll clock you in at about 3.
Oh, okay, cool. Usually Fathom, my note taker tells me, you are monologuing. I'm like, shh. Yeah. Yeah.
You were cooking paella, so we ain't concerned.
Yeah. Give yourself options. And I always tell people this. I've talked to so many marketers who come to me like after I've had a discovery call and they're like, how do I do what you do? Because I don't know if the company's doing very well. And I literally am like, here's my pitch deck. Here's my process. Here's how I run everything. I will give you everything. I don't care. I want if I can have everybody work for themselves and not depend on someone, like, cool, I'll do it.
All right, guys, she just said the magic word. She can be our 4th member of We're Not. I want everyone to quit their jobs and go fractional. Let's go.
Let's go.
The secret phrase was unlocked.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So the last 4 seasons has been a Trojan horse.
I love that. My kind of Trojan horse. Pop out, you're on your own now. Fired.
Everybody, flee your 9-to-5s.
Flee your 9-to-5s.
Throw your bennies out. Burn them.
Yeah.
Burn the Patagonia vest. I won't be needing this anymore.
So, gents, as we wrap up here, you got any final questions?
No, I'm good on my end.
All good. We're ending on a very strong note. Love the rants and everything.
Thank you.
All right. Well, then we only have, I think, one more question, and it's a little bit to help everyone get a little bit more of you. So, where can they find you other than just LinkedIn? Are there any cool projects you got coming out that you want anyone to know about? And when's your rap album dropping?
Oh, my rap album. Have I not asked you, Zach, when we are doing a collaboration or anything?
Oh, yeah. We talked about this, our mixtape. This isn't
Yeah.
so far marketing or
Like I wanted to
this ain't
do
marketing.
like I wanted to do the Not Like Us but a parody for B2B. But then Adam Robinson did a Not Like Us, but like with him and his feud. And I'm like, so I was very pissed off about that because I'm like, he did it before I did. I'll do it. I'll send you guys the ones after this that I did for my VP and my CMO. One is a parody of Savage, and the other one is a parody of This Is How We Do It. I think one of them.
Ooh.
Nice.
But yeah, so I'm like, I want to do it, but I'm just shy with the video thing and the editing. I can't do all of that. I can't do the TikToky stuff. I'm too old for that. But yeah, for me, project wise, no, my biggest thing is just staying laser focused on landing pages this year, rebranding with the Scroll Lab, which is just optimizing for buyer consumption, not conversions. And so I worked with Fletch for the homepage positioning and messaging. So they did my whole homepage for me. And I'm working with Kevin Rapp at Ultra Friends. He lives in Columbus. We met on LinkedIn, one of my first LinkedIn friends, and he's doing the whole rebrand for me. So I'm waiting for that. But I told him this, which is my requirements are the purple stays because I'm the purple landing page lady. 2, it needs to be clean, minimalistic, and professional, but it's got a sprinkle of ratchet because it's me. Good luck trying to meet all those requirements. Excited to see what you come up with.
I envision it in my head, so
There you go.
yeah, that's just gonna be so cool.
I'm excited. I'm so stoked. I'm like, come on, launch it. He's gonna make me new graphics and everything too. But I'm like, look, I'm gonna be your cheapest client and I'm gonna be the worst one. So like now he's like posting every day. I'm like, where's my shit? What are you doing posting on here? Where's my stuff? I need to improve stuff. What's happening?
You got time to write, you got time to create. Get back to work.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, so
Taz, this has been an incredible hour with you. There's so much we covered in this time, from landing pages to what's going on in Bed Bath & Beyond to when the album's gonna drop to hot tips from solopreneurship. Like we're so fortunate that you took the time to share with all this with us. And this is it for another episode of We're Not Marketers, signing off. Thank you again, Taz.
thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to We're Not Marketers. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, review our podcast, and share this episode with other PMMs. Thanks again, and see you soon.